The Oklahoma Sooners, though, might not be done offering off or bringing in offensive tackles or wide receivers. We'll discuss that coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The Oklahoma Sooners are in the market still and pursuing several players on the transfer portal radar. A couple offensive tackles might be buzzing towards Oklahoma. One, Derek Simmons of Western Carolina, Corey Robinson, Georgia Tech. Jay, do you think Oklahoma's going to have a shot at either of these guys?
I know that we could use an additional veteran on the offensive line, and at this point, you probably want to go after some of the big name players coming from Georgia Tech with Corey Robinson. Hey, he's a beast, and I know that he tweeted something out about Oklahoma, and then all of a sudden it disappeared. I didn't get to catch what it is, but maybe he's visiting, maybe not. But I'll tell you this: if we can get him in town with John Mateer in town right now, you probably gonna close him, because it seems like John is like closing everybody that he's on campus with, right? You got two wide receivers that popped up right before he gave his final commitment. Which, funny enough, you see the picture that John Mateer used on that commitment that they had. It was July 12th, 2020, as in him being on campus. There's a picture from him visiting campus. Craziness. So that's probably a tool being used to close on some of these deals. Like, hey, man, if I would have came to Oklahoma if they had recruited me back then. Luckily, the new regime is here, and they're recruiting me. You should come here, too. So, if Corey Robinson gets to this campus, there's a good chance that man going to get closed like a used car salesman. He's going to be walking out with high interest on that one.
Yeah, Corey Robinson in 278 pass block snaps, only allowed 5 pressures and 0 sacks for Georgia Tech. Now, not necessarily the most pass-happy, pass-centric offense in the ACC, but a pretty good passing offense nonetheless. They had some big-time performances this year over there at Georgia Tech. Derek Simmons, 417 pass block snaps, 11 pressures allowed, and no sacks, according to Pro Football Focus. And they might not be done in the wide receiver department as well, as they might be pursuing one Isaiah Satania of Arkansas, a dude that was very productive for the Razorbacks in Bobby Petrino's offense. He had, what did he have? A little over 300 yards receiving. And sorry, I had it and then I lost
37 it. Receptions, 491 yards and a touchdown. Isaiah Satania.
And that one touchdown might not sound like a lot, but Andrew Armstrong, who had 1,140 yards, also only had one touchdown on the season.
Which is kind of crazy to me.
Yeah,
it just seems like all their,
the passing offense at Arkansas was just weird this year. So I like that they're being aggressive. They need to be. They can't afford to lay back and just wait on development. I get we want to develop our own. In a year or an off season where you just came off of a 10-win season, or you're going to the college football playoff and you like where you're at offensively, then by all means continue to develop your own. But when you've had arguably the worst offense that you've had in 25 years, no, I'm not even going to say arguably, when you've had the worst offense you've had in 25 years, you really can't afford to sit back and rest on your laurels. You've got to be aggressive in the marketplace to try and retool it and make it better the following year, because you can't afford, especially if you're Brent Venables, you can't afford another 6-win season at Oklahoma.
100%. You can't afford it. You need it. And so with Isaiah Satania, which is interesting, he is on campus right now. I see it here on the social media. There's a picture from his Instagram showing he took a picture of the OU facility as he was walking in. So he's here visiting as we speak. So as you're watching this video this morning, he's probably spending the night and going to walk through everything a second time. And the funny thing is that he's actually there with someone that he saw on the field this season, on Javonnie Gibson. They saw each other. Arkansas Pine Bluff played Arkansas. And you had Isaiah Satania get a punt return for a touchdown in that game, in which that's what you would get him for. Fascinating enough, he doesn't fit the type that we've been going after, John. This is a little bit different. He's 5'11". That's why I was like, huh. But he does return kicks. And I think that's way more important than anything else. 5'11", 185. We need a dude that can make the return game happen. And so since he's in town doing his visits, meeting John Mateer, and John's probably telling him, hey, man, I had a dude named Chris Hudson like you when I was up at Washington State, and I can make you even better. because, Chris is really good and he didn't want to follow me. So I'm going to make you even better than what he did. You should go ahead and come here and add to this great room. I'm totally here for it.
Yeah, the Oklahoma Sooners are being aggressive in the marketplace, and they've got to be. And they're doing so at positions like offensive tackle, quarterback, where there aren't a plethora of legit starting dudes. At wide receiver, there's a bunch of really good players out there that you can work with. Washington State's done it the last few years, not with these big household Biletnikoff award-winning names, but they're just making it happen because Ben Arbuckle's system is going to create options and opportunities for guys to get open and catch the ball. So very fascinating, very intriguing. We'll see where Oklahoma heads. We got several more days of the transfer portal window coming, especially over Christmas break. We might see more buzz towards the Oklahoma Sooners as well. This weekend might be another big weekend for transfer portal news as well. But that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button and that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports, myself at John 9 Williams. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all your social media platforms. Follow Jay over on YouTube as well at Unfair Sports. You can read my work covering the Sooners at SoonersWire.com. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you then. Boomer.
Sooner.